You know, it's funny, looking back at myself in college, I was only interested in two things: learning guitar riffs and getting a responsible education from a reputable four-year state college. But the guitar riffs were a big thing for me. I started teaching myself guitar when I was a freshman in college. And these are going to be 10 of the riffs that really helped me learn guitar and what they actually taught me about the guitar fretboard, about music theory, all that stuff as we go along the way. This video is sponsored by Enya Guitar. I'll be using their Enya Guitar Sonic Nova Go for this. So let's get right to the first one. You probably already know, everybody who ever picked up a guitar and wanted a riff probably started out with some kind of Zeppelin riff. But I actually got introduced to Zeppelin not through the normal channels. I had like a 4-disc set or something that I was kind of going through. So I didn't even know that was like the best riff. I was like, all right. The one that I gravitated to most was actually a song called 4 Sticks. So the riff sounds like this. It's like such a good riff, and apparently John Bonham was using 4 sticks when he played it. Not that you can hear that or really has anything to do with the song. But what was interesting for me learning this one is it's in an odd time. It's in like 5/4, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's actually pretty easy to play. The beautiful thing about this video is these are how I learned the riffs, not necessarily technically how the people played them. So I absolve all responsibility of teaching these correctly. So we've got open E and 4A, and you're just gonna go A string, 4, 5, 7, and then get to the G on the D string, the 5th fret. So this is in 5/4 time, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 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 1, 2, A power chord, then G. And like, what an awesome riff. It's really just super simple. That's the beauty of Jimmy Page's playing. They're accessible riffs that even beginners can kind of fight their way through, even though they don't sound exactly how Jimmy plays it. But they're very accessible riffs that are super fun to play no matter what your level is on guitar. But even the simple ones have something kind of interesting like that, just being in 5/4, right? So the two old school bands that I started with, and again, I think these are probably like the only two of that era on this list of 10, would be Zeppelin, and then, of course, Jimi Hendrix, right? So the first riff I ever learned was Purple Haze. But I think after getting through that, Manic Depression is the one, right? So Manic Depression is cool. It's just like... It's so good, right? So really it's kind of cool because it teaches you to play this where it's just like an A and then it's octave, and there's a lot of different ways you can play it. So it's a very malleable riff. Like a lot of people would thumb over play this, where their thumb grabs the A and then you kind of get that. You can pick it or you can hammer on, pull off it, right? So you can play it like that. Or you can open A string. Or you can just pick it the entire time like I do. And get more of that string noise, which is kind of like what I ended up gravitating towards. And then after that, it goes into actually outlining chords, right? So the funny thing about what is a riff and what is a chord is also kind of going to be a theme for this video, because after he goes through that riff, he'll go through an A major arpeggio to a G major arpeggio and a kind of chromatic move, right? So this is the first time I ever saw this stuff. I remember, when I started, I was like really learning Zeppelin and Hendrix songs, and like maybe like Elliot Smith stuff, which we're going to get to later. But it was either kind of like single note riffs or interesting chords and chord progressions was kind of how I learned. So when I'd look up the Ultimate Guitar tab sheet, I would see like 5, E4, A7, A3, E2, A5, A5, 6, 7, back to the riff. And to me, it was just pure memorization, right? So, all right, I gotta get a finger here. I was probably doing it with one finger, right? But But once you kind of see that, it's like eventually I learned, oh, this is just an A major arpeggio that he's running through, but because it's Jimi Hendrix and he's like the ultimate god of swag, it's actually kind of awesome. And then you got little things within these arpeggios. It's not just A to G, it's getting every single note to kind of ring out and then choke it, slide using the fifth, again, arpeggio 1, 3, 5, then walk it back. So a very elegant way of connecting chords, right? So again, if that's outlining the chords, if that's a riff, you guys can argue about that in the comments. I don't really care. I just think it sounds awesome. And then even then after that, he goes E, G, just like the master. I think it's his best riff because it really exemplifies just how he's just a total genius on guitar, right? Manic Depression. Okay. Now getting into maybe some more unmodern stuff. Again, I say modern, it's probably like 30 years old, but the first Elliot Smith song that I was really drawn into guitar-wise is probably like the easiest one to play, right? So I'm talking about Needle in the Hay. It sounds like this. And then there's another run. Okay, now again, this is played on acoustic guitar. I'm rocking everything on the Enya Sonic Nova Go right here through a Deco Strymon saturation pedal, which is going to be responsible for the kind of overdrive sound. That's a really cool pedal, but yeah, the Enya guitar is awesome. I'll unplug it at the end because there's a speaker built into this one. Like I said, there'll be an affiliate link in the description. But you can play all these without even using an amp. I'm using amp just because I kind of love the sound of that pedal. But we'll unplug it at the end of the video. So, Elliot Smith, right? Basically what we have is open A and 2D. And then we've got 3D and open G. Which again, when you're looking up tabs, it's like, oh my god, what is that? Right? That's so weird, but... Then we've got 3A and 2D. And then 2A and open D, right? And again, early in my guitar journey, I had no idea what these were. You know, again, you could say these are just dyads, 2-note chords. But I was like, this is such an interesting riff, especially on acoustic guitar. And I didn't really know that they were just kind of shorthand for fuller chords, which he actually goes into the bigger chords, right? So for instance, he's just playing open A and 2D, which again, I knew to be a power chord, right? But that's representative of like a A minor chord. And then he goes down into this guy, right, where it's 3, which, you know, you can kind of see as like being like a beginning of like an F major chord, right? Or however you want to suspend it or something like that. And then this is obviously a C major chord. And then 2D or 2A and open D would be representative of a G chord. So A minor F, A minor F, C, G. Like that right there wouldn't have been that interesting to me, but seeing it as this with a pretty heavy palm mute it's just awesome. Elliot Smith, like the GOAT of all time. My favorite guitar player of all time. Then after that, I think a song that was really popular at the time. What are we on? 4? Riff number 4. This is where I started getting into licks, right? You probably know this one, huh? Interstate Love Song, Stone Temple Pilots. A band that I kind of feel is somewhat getting forgotten in history. Like when you think of the grunge era, I feel like everybody still thinks of like Nirvana and they think of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam's still kicking around. STP was low-key the best band of all those, and especially when it came to the riffs, right? This sounds great on an acoustic. The acoustic version is actually the one that I remember getting into first. But I learned a lot from this. The cool thing about this, so it's like... it's got a very lick-based approach, and what I mean by that is it's almost playing it now almost kind of reminds me of like bluegrass a little bit, which I had no exposure to in the day. But you know, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can kind of get 2B and open E at the same time, and slide back 2 to 3, and then back, or you can kind of bend it if you want, right? So again, there's like a lot of play in this one. And then after that, so bend, back, open, and then 2G, open E. And that's kind of cool, that 1G, 2G, B, E, leading you back to an E major chord. That's just such a fun one to play. And yeah, it's just kind of once you get it. And again, I think the thing I learned most from that is probably the picking, because there's like a little string skip, and then kind of, you know, just using your fingers in a very efficient way was what I learned from that. And also getting that move right there, I remember being so difficult. I remember reading the tab sheet literally and being like, all right, E major, got it. What's this? 4D and 2G. And then this? I'm like, what? Like the kind of C-shaped E major chord, or however. I think they might have been playing it 7A, 6D, 4G. And I was like, how do people do that? That seems so fast and like so much real estate to cover. But yeah, STP was an awesome band that I will forever love. And that got me into what became my favorite band of all time, and that's Radiohead. Radiohead has a ton of riffs to choose from. I feel like the one that resonated most with me right away was probably Airbag, because once I heard that song, it's the opening track off of OK Computer. Amazing, right? So I'm playing it with octaves. This is the first time I really kind of used octaves moving around. And again, like I said, this is a kid in college accompanying himself playing the song. I've been told that Johnny Greenwood doesn't use it playing octaves when he plays live. Shut up. Come on. It's like open E and then 2 on the D string. And then you just track that to an F, right? So 1E and 3D. And then now you just move this shape around. And this is another thing that when I was looking at the tabs and trying to figure this out, strictly memorization. I was like, all right, open 1, 8, 7, 9, 5. Open 1, 8, 7, 5, 9, 12, 13, 8, 7, 9, 5. Open 1, 8, 7, 5. And it's like, thinking of that is like, all right, I can break this into 4 parts, and then it's like a combination, it's like a code. Open 1, 8, 7, 9, 5. All right, that's part 1, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, once I actually started learning my stuff, it's like, all right, we got E, F, C, B, C sharp, A. And then the next part, they all start the same thing. E, F, C, B, A, C sharp. And then this part is just E, F, but an octave higher. So it's like, oh, they all start out with E, F, C, E, F, C, and then it's like, all right, then the first part is B, C sharp, A. Second part, E, F, C, B, A, C sharp. So then I just rearrange those 3, and then I just do an octave higher. E, F, C, B, C sharp, A, like the first one, and then E, F, C, B, A. Right? So once I actually learned that open and 1 were the same as 12 and 13, riff got a lot easier to remember. But again, it's cool because, you know, we kind of go out of the key. It's not just the fact that it has right there these 3 notes in a row, right? C, B, C sharp. It's going out of the key, but it's just it's just moving around, and that's what got me into what eventually became my favorite band of all time. And I learned so much from Radiohead, and I still continue to learn a lot from Radiohead. Another one of the time that kind of gets compared to Radiohead in a lot of ways, especially in my heart, would be Muse. Muse, one of the most powerful rock sounds in the history of guitar. Great riff band. You could choose a million different riffs from Muse, but I'm gonna do "Time Is Running Out." And again, you know, a lot of be like, all right, well, isn't that like the bass riff or guitar pitch down? It's like, whatever, bass riff, guitar riff, doesn't really matter. It's a riff, right? And I think this is, to me, the quintessential Muse riff, because it has a lot of the stuff that, you know, is responsible for making them, you know, one of the most iconic music bands, rock bands of all time. So we're gonna start here with 5E to 3A. And we're just gonna dance around there. We're just gonna outline what is an A and its minor third. So it's really just a A minor chord to B minor, E, F, G. And if you heard that, it's like, okay, cool, you know, like that's a cool riff, but it's not even a riff, right? It's just some chords. But then when you So what I really learned from this is how to extrapolate a riff from a chord, because it's a super simple chord progression. A minor to B minor. But it's like, all right, well, what is an A minor? It's a root note, it's a minor third. You can grab its fifth if you want, right? That's it. It's a triad. It's a 3-note chord. A minor third. Just kind of doing it with a little sauce, a little rhythm on it. Do the same thing 2 frets higher for the B minor. And then that's the Muse move, right? B minor third, then walk it into your next chord. That chromatic walk, 1 note at a time, is something that is super, super interesting. In fact, in this same spot, we've already done it, right? There it is, right? A lot of these riffs kind of, you know, really connect to each other, but B minor, just a single E note in its octave, and then outline F and outline G, root and fifth and root and G, and you get an iconic thing that is unmistakably Muse, right? Great song. And then everything about that song is amazing. I think I teach that song on my Patreon, I'm pretty sure. So check that out, because that's such a fun song to play the entire way through acoustically. And again, that one is another one that goes into the chords from the riffs. So if you're thinking about from a songwriting perspective, you can learn so much of this stuff just from kind of, you know, extrapolating riffs from chords. Another all-time Riffmeister. Riffmeister's such a stupid... that sounds like a terrible IPA or something like that. Jack White, White Stripes. He's got to be on here. If only there was some riff that he was really known for. I'm going to choose a song called Black Math. It's so good, it's just power chords. What I learned technique-wise from this is actually a lot. Because I'm like, I loved Elephant, the album when it came out. And that was probably my favorite song off the entire album. But it's so fast, because it's like C to G to C to G to C to G to C to G. Then stay on the A forever, right? What I learned from there is that you don't have to take your hand off the fretboard to play the next chord. So I actually kind of learned how to roll my fingers on that one, believe it or not, which I think is like a super valuable thing that you should learn, right? So what I mean by that is, if I'm playing a C power chord, 3A, 5D, it's like, let me kind of get closer on this. It's really here, and then you just kind of rotate your fingers up instead of coming off. And again, I'm exaggerating that, however you play it. See, it's a rotation. And that's something that she can do a lot faster than C, G, C, But a lot of that stuff is just like so much just raw attitude, power, and emotion, and super simple to play conceptually, but harder than you might think to actually get to sound good, right? Next riff, this is also going to be a bass riff, but I'm going to use it in tandem because, again, I'm going to lose my guitar card if I don't talk about John Frusciante. So, big Red Hot Chili Peppers fan when I first started playing guitar, and still am. I don't really listen to them that much anymore, but definitely a very important band for my formative years, so to speak. Slapdown song, everybody's going to be like... Everybody goes to that one first, but what I think is just as good, if not better than that song, is Soul to Squeeze. It's like so good. Is that a riff? Is that outlining chords and chord progression? Again, we're at that same argument. It doesn't matter. To me, there's like a million different little riffs here from one of the tastiest bass players in the history of music, right? So we got this. Okay, I think it makes a lot more sense, and this helped me learn it. This is the time in my guitar playing where I really started to put together that a lot of these notes and melodies are just chords being outlined in one way or another, right? And that's why kind of studying the Chili Peppers music is so good, because the synergy between Flea and Frusciante is potentially the greatest of all time, right? Like, if you look at the chords that Frusciante's playing, it's F, C, D minor, D minor, F, C, then some kind of like inflections that he does, right? And then once you kind of go back and forth between these and think of the chords behind it, then you know it's just an F into B flat. Then I'm gonna outline that D minor, bum 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 bum, which is really just some kind of D minor, B flat power chord, or to the F, C, and then just riffing off all of it. So once you kind of see, it's like F major, guitar, bass is going. That's just the outline of the chord, and then he's kind of getting just fancier with the connections, right? So again, incredible song from just two incredible riff rockin' dudes, right? That everybody, absolutely everybody, should know. What else do I got? Oh, how could I forget? Tool, Schism. Basically, a song that really got me so much tighter with my syncopation between my left and my right hand. And I think I was probably playing it wrong. Like most of these riffs, I was probably playing wrong the entire time. I think I started doing it. And right there. So this is double hammer-ons galore. Let's do it in this position first, and then kind of like talk about the merits of doing it down there. But if we just do E string, open 10, 12, and then 10, A, E, 9, A, E. Let's do that first. Getting that syncopation between your hands down, and then add the 12th fret on the A string. And then if you want to do it in the middle of the strings, which I think adds a level of difficulty, D and G string, open 3, 5, 3G, D, 2G, and then now you can kind of palm me maybe like the middle of the string set. And then you get that staccato sound that Adam Jones is like so good at. classic riff. So many great Tool riffs that we could do on here, but I just don't feel like changing the guitar to drop D right now. But yeah, huge Tool fan. Got me through some angsty times as a teen. Last one, I think this is going to be 10. I think I have 10. Correct me if I'm wrong. But again, there's a contract that I signed becoming a guitar YouTuber. That means whenever I do some kind of guitarist list, I have to put a John Mayer song on here, right? So again, I'm not as much of a Mayer fanboy as every other YouTube guitar player, but the trio stuff is really good. So his best riff is definitely Another Kind of Green. And again, I think you've already kind of heard through some of these where the inspiration comes from. Really cool though, because maybe kind of outlining chords in maybe a more modern way that is definitely clearly Jimi Hendrix inspired. You could even do the thumb over thing with a G sharp minor, where it's just you get the root and then that classic, minor chord, hammer on G string, 4 6 4 6, then go back to F sharp, and then major chord, right? So 2 and 3, 3 to 4, so G sharp, F sharp, outline the chords till we get to A, more outlines. And again, this is what I learned from this chord, is I'd never see, until I learned this, let's outline the chords first. So we got a B major, 2 A. You already know how to outline a major chord now. 2, 4 to 6, 4 D. Same thing with E major, open to 4, B to A, slide to the A. Maybe get like a high open B and E string A chord voicing. 7 to 9. Then that minor chord, which we did in so many of the other riffs. 9E, 7A, 9A. And then we got that. This is great. Learning this song was the first time I'd ever seen a minor 7 chord played like this, let alone sliding it like that. So 9, 7, 9, A, D, G, and then putting it all together is actually something that is such a good song. So yeah, give it up for John Mayer. Also give it up for the Enya guitar. Check it out. If I hit this button, it'll turn on some effects that are built into the actual guitar, right? I can make it a chorus. And then I press it. If I want more distortion, I probably should have been using this the whole time for the songs with distortion. And again, you can kind of go through. Also, if you unplug the guitar, then it goes into the built-in speaker in the guitar. Which actually kind of super works. And listen to how clean that is when you're not playing it. Again, Enya. This thing is really cool. I'll have an affiliate link, like I said, in the description. Thank you so much to Enya for sponsoring the guitar. Let me know what riffs inspired you to play guitar and what you learned from them. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the comment section or the website, and I'll talk to you all soon.